Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Randall George Nozawa. I am the Bounce Back Blind Guy, and welcome to New and Lifestyle Medicine. Please welcome co-host Patrick Herbert.
Hello.
Hi, Patrick. We've got a great show for you today because this is, I think, with all the things that are going on right now in this half of 2020, this is an uplifting show, and it's one going to give you hope. The other is that it's going to get you outside and get going again. So this is talking about your friend COVID, and it is a friend. It is time, everyone. Let's get it on. Here we go. Now, for all this half year, with all the media that you've been listening to, all the things from Tony Fauci and Bill Gates and all your government officials, we were taught to fear this microbe. It's actually SARS-CoV-2, which causes this COVID-19 thing. Okay, and this tiny microbe that you can barely see, under an electron microscopy, is that it caused illnesses and death. Okay, but that's what you were led to believe. Don't believe it. There have been deaths and all that, like we have in every year, unfortunately, but it cannot be accurately pinned on this one microbe. So here, and today what we're talking about is what's good about viruses? What's good about this COVID thing? What's good about SARS-CoV-2? Why do we even have viruses? Okay. Look, when you hear the news, it's usually bad news, and it's for a reason, because it makes you want to tune in. Again, that's what humans do. We tune into bad news. But see, what bad news does is that it mislabels things. You're going to hear more incidences of people testing positive for COVID, more people dying of COVID. And especially where in Texas, where Patrick lives, Texas and Florida are competing for who dies first, who gets sick more. So it's this statistical battle of who's winning the illness and death war. But it is not COVID. It is not SARS-CoV-2. And by the way, there's no vaccines for these kind of things. Never have. The SARS-CoV-2 happened way back 17 years ago in this fake H1N1 swine flu kind of thing. Fake. But what you have come to believe. We need viruses, as we've talked about in other episodes on this show, and also my radio show, Be the Change on the Pyramid One Network, and what a lot you've read about on Patrick's blog. He's quite the researcher, and you get quite detailed, up-to-date information on anything from biology, personal development, physiology, and what's going on in the news and in the world. Because what Patrick does, like you might know David Icke, John Rappaport, okay, Joe Mokurla, is that they report truth. Truth is out there. And so that's up to you for what you do about it. So with this thing going on right now, I want to have you readjust what you think. Be open to this, but say, what if COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, was a friend? What if we needed it for health? What if we needed it to perpetuate the species? What if we needed it to make ourselves stronger and more resilient? You ever think about that? Now, yeah, I'm sorry for all the people that have gotten sick and who have died, but you have to look at this. The folks that have died were dying anyway. Yeah, they were dying anyway. All of them had underlying issues. All of them were taking medications. All of them had vitamin D rates under 36 nanograms per milliliter. They weren't getting enough sunshine, like most of the country here. And it seems that just getting a lot of sunshine, getting outdoors, breathing fresh air, seems to be very healing. It is anyway. But what you're experiencing now in all this, and a lot of you are going broke because you're told to stay home. You're told to stay this, I don't know, 72 inches apart, and one, how can you tell? And you're told to wear masks. And Patrick reported a lot on this, on the inefficiency of masks, because like I told you before, viruses are very small, and no matter what the mask is, viruses can exit freely, can come into you freely. So it's really of no value. Plus, it inhibits you from actually breathing, getting enough oxygen in your body. So the neat thing about COVID-2, neat thing about SARS, and the neat thing about this COVID thing is that it makes us stronger. It's our friend. Okay? And we need it to be more resilient. Our human species has been around for millions of years. And why we have an immune system allows us to thrive, because there's all these different pathogens that have come around over the years in evolution that has caused us to become stronger. I don't know necessarily smarter, but I think stronger. So this is what we're talking about in this episode, is that it's our friend. Viruses are our friend. We need it. They work with bacteria to regulate our genes. That's right. We're technically 1% human if you look at our bodies. The rest are microbes. Through the Human Genome Project and the Microbiome Project, we find that we're more non-human than anything, but everything works in concert. There's this grand scheme, a magical system that works, where these bugs, and Dr. Stephen Gundry calls them gut bugs, in your gut, your intestine, they work to turn genes on and off, to up or down regulate, so we live in harmony, we live in balance, we live in optimal health. Okay. But anyway, this is what we're talking about today, and I want you to get uplifted here and get up and get out of the house, get back to work, create a new job. Look at this COVID thing as an opportunity, a massive opportunity for change, for transformation. Create the world that we want, create the world that you want. Are you living the world, in a world that you would most love to live in? Are you living the life that you love to live? Okay. Answer those questions. And when you see that COVID is your friend, you're going to find out that you're stronger. Okay. You're more creative. You can use your imagination. This is a massive time for change. Let's change our world for the better. Patrick, you've got all these details here and all this massive amount of research you've done. Okay, well, why don't you jump in here and tell our brethren that we're doing okay, and a lot of the things that they're reading are not true, and that we have to believe in ourselves, and ramp up that self-love and love for others, and let's get outside.
So, Dr. Randall, I'd like to use your expertise for a moment and do a little back and forth.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so one of the things, so let's really try to inform and educate who's watching right now. Viruses. What is a virus? Now, we know that a virus is a non-living organism, right? It is a packet of information with genetic material.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, and I know there have been some fear-mongering reports out there that coronaviruses were, or this one in particular, SARS-CoV-2, was growing tentacles in order to stab cells around it and inject its genetic material into those cells. Now, in order for it to grow tentacles like they describe, wouldn't it have to be a living thing?
Yes, no, you bring up some great points, is that but by definition, viruses aren't really alive, because other than RNA your DNA. They don't have internal cell parts, and they can only reproduce as they enter a host or a cell, and which is for us humans or animals, plants, dirt, water, and so viruses are everywhere. And any virologist will tell you that there are 265 trillion viruses in your body at any time. And Dr. Zach Bush, who's a very, very famous functional medicine doc and one of the few that has got 3 board certifications, says out there in the dirt, in the air, in the animals, your pets and animals out there in forests and trees, in any body of water, there's 10 to the 31st power of viruses. And he didn't have a name for that, and I couldn't find one either. But they're out there and they're necessary, and viruses preceded humankind. And they incorporated into our evolving bodies and working with bacteria. They're necessary. And yes, they're not living, but they're necessary. Without viruses, we would die. We would not live. So we need them. But technically, they're not alive, but we need them.
So then one of the things we're looking at when it comes to these pathogens or microbes and everything, they have genetic material. That is a commonality between all of them. We all have genetic material. They have genetic material. The smallest things have genetic material. Unless I'm mistaken?
No, you're right. You're right.
So we have the potential that something as small as a virus could also be at least very similar in structure to an exosome, which is another version of a packet of information. So I sometimes wonder, when it comes to the medical publications and the study of all of this, the term virus is a very loaded term. Yeah. It's one that's been engineered to strike fear into the hearts of people. And this goes back so far, because as I'm learning in this book, I'm reading The Invisible Rainbow, which is actually a history of electricity and life, is that, the discussion of viruses and everything, we're talking the 1800s. But the thing is, a lot of these conditions and things called viruses didn't exist. Well, they did exist, but they didn't exist in terms of medical documentation, in terms of causing illnesses and diseases and all this stuff until the advent of electricity, it appears, at least so far as this book has been describing. So to the degree that which we've seen, and this is directly in relation to pandemics. Now, there is definitely a tie-in with electromagnetic radiation, our cells becoming damaged, the excretion by the cell of a packet of information that could be either an exosome or what is labeled as a virus, this foreign entity, independent now from the cell, could trigger an immune system response. And I assume that means when a genetic mismatch occurs.
Yeah.
So now we've got, and correct me if I'm wrong, the term virus is a very loaded term, because when I've looked deeper into viral theory, and of course most of these doctors that I've been reading have all been labeled as quacks and whatnot by the American Medical Association. Some people demonstrate rather remarkably that, the existence of things like polio, measles, HIV, CMV, EBV, HEPC, Ebola, the flu, Zika, coronaviruses, that there's questions to where they have actually been demonstratively proven. Now, we know there are microbes. We know that life is filled with microbes, bacteria, fungi, what we call viruses, exosomes, packets of information like we just described. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is that the big misunderstanding, or not misunderstanding, perhaps deception, would be, and this is tied down to the particular school of thought, would be that these viruses do actually cause an actual disease in us. And there's a huge question mark on that. So it's not so much that these microbes exist, that we people, the techniques for isolating them and then viewing them in an electron microscope are so simple that anybody could literally do it were you to have the lab equipment. Of course, it's displayed rather fancifully in the mainstream media, where they show these people in hazmat suits, and they've got those machines that spin around, which pushes all the particles into the corner, and then you use certain combination of liquids and chemicals to separate and isolate them, and then you view them, you view a clump of them under an electron microscope. And of course, that visual that I have seen looks nothing like the propaganda version of a virus, which is, as you haven't been able to see, but they have been with the creation and success of the proliferation of 3D generated graphics and computer modeling. We supposedly are looking at what it looks like, but this rendering that we see, which they show it as like imagine a very large cheese ball. How that looks, if you could recall. Do you remember the look of a cheese ball? And,
yes, I do.
And then now imagine they put these, like the spokes, like you see in the electron microscope, those little things that they call the crown. That's where the coronavirus gets its name from. Is that those little? I'm not sure what the correct name for those things, with those spikes or whatnot.
There's not a correct name. Spikes is fine.
Spikes. You see those, but and I'm looking at a picture right now of an electron microscope. It literally looks like a cheese ball with just an outline of these bumps. It looks nothing like the ones that they use in the media that show these things flying through the air and they usually imagine them as, they just try to make them look as scary as possible, but that's not what they look like under an electron microscope. So these things exist, but we have trouble establishing the relationship between viruses and disease that it causes, which is remarkable. And you bring up certain truths that we have them running through our body all the time. So we've got, like you say, we're 1% human, and the rest of us is all this stuff going on inside of our systems, all going through our gut, up and down regulating or bidirectional regulation of genes, bacteria, which I know from my own experience that bacteria can be contagious. You could have a bacterial sinus infection, and you can, in some way or another, kiss your spouse, and that person will more than likely get that bacterial sinus infection, of course. And we've identified through the course of medical research bacteria, what they look like, and bacteria is a living thing.
Yes, it is.
Versus a virus, which is not. Now, there's even been a bigger, larger debate when it comes to this, because there are some schools of thought that suggest that the so-called infected cells are nothing more than biological transforming red blood cells that are going through a pleomorphic changes due to increased acidity and declining pH in the bloodstream in the body. This is, and I to go further on that, and this is from a Dr. Robert O. Young, who has been attacked by the established medicine. I'm not sure if you know of Dr. Robert O. Young.
Yeah, I know who that is. I read his stuff. Yep.
And he talks, he's got his opinion on this. Other doctors, and it's interesting to watch that these naturopathic doctors or people involved in natural medicine, they all seem to reach very similar conclusions, which are completely opposite than the conclusions that are reached by Rockefeller financed medical establishment. So can you elaborate on, with using your expertise and your knowledge on that gray area right there? Why is it that we have, and we know the question of this, but maybe we should inform the audience. Why is it when it's never been proven that a so-called virus causes a disease, do we have such an aggressive pursuit of this concept by finance established medicine? And we also understand that medicine is all about business. It is a business. The Rockefeller-funded medical systems are about making money. They're not about spending money for the cause of humanity. No, they're about making money by convincing everybody that a virus causes a disease, so you can what? Get a shot, get a vaccine. So what you end up having is a racket, literally the vaccine racket. Yeah. So this gray area, can you knowing you what you know, can you dive into that gray area? Because I one of the most wonderful phrases I've heard in relation to that is correlation does not equal causation.
Yes.
And I'll go ahead and hand it back to you.
No, like I said, you're so detailed in your reporting. And I go back to the early mid 1800s when you have Austrian Hungarian physician Emil Semmelweis. He's a doctor and he's also a researcher. And what he noticed was that there are so many in the hospitals he worked at that one hospital was more of a research hospital, but both did a lot of childbirthing out there, and mainly for for prostitutes who got pregnant and they had to give birth and all. And in one hospital that did a lot of the research meaning cadaver research with the different type of chemicals, and you're slicing bodies open and you're learning anatomy and learning where things are and all that. In that hospital, the death rate for females was almost 70%. And so this is why a lot of the women out there, especially the prostitutes, would rather have birth on the street, which they did, than go to the hospital because they knew they had a good chance of dying. And what he just came up with, because what if we cleaned the instruments and washed our hands, sterilized our hands? And he did it himself and encouraged his students to do that. And the death rate from birthing dropped almost to zero. And he didn't know back then about microbes and things like that. And this did not sit well with the medical establishment because he started giving seminars and speeches and going to medical meetings, say, hey, if we just sterilize things, wash our hands, I don't know why this works, but it allows these women to live after giving birth. And shortly after that, he was confined to a sanatorium where he was murdered 2 weeks later. Just curious that way, right? But his research encouraged Louis Pasteur to look into this. And so this is what Pasteur did, and he came up with germ theory. But along with that, Claude Bernard was researching terrain theory of what in our bodies are much stronger than any kind of pathogen. And even on Pasteur's deathbed, he goes, yeah, I think the terrain theory is probably a better thing because we seem to have this thing called an immune system that's much stronger, than any kind of single pathogen out there. And Western medicine was based on Pasteur theory that was long debunked. It doesn't work. And so going back to, I guess the root of your question, Patrick, is that we as humans, especially if you're in medicine or if you're in research or in science, we want to prove something. We want to be right. We want to find the right answer. Okay. But I think a lot of those folks in science, because they're human, that they want to be that one that has that, aha, this is it. This is the answer. But what science is it's constantly unfolding. There's many layers to that. Because you got you look at just air, the ether. You can't see anything out there, but in every square nanometer of that are microbes or different type of structures, and there's energy that you cannot see, but you can feel. And so we as in science, me included, we're trying to find the right answers. But a lot of times those right answers have many depths to them, many layers to them. But we all want to be right. We want to be the right thing.
Pride plays a role in it. Pride,
ego,
money. Ego, pride, money.
We don't quite use that word around anymore often, but that's kind of on the basis of what we humans do is ego that drives us. Because if you're ego dominated, then look at our president, ego dominated. I'm right, you're wrong. All you guys are scumbags. I'm not. I'm rich. You're poor. It's like, oh, okay, okay, okay. And so the need to be right is so powerful, and that's seen in medicine too, because when you look at all the diseases out there, every single one of them is named after a guy. So when you talk about Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, okay, things like that, these are men that did research, and of course they name a disease after themselves, right? But that's how that goes, because they discover something, they want to be right. Okay, the flip side to that, and this is what you do is that you use that God's law, two sides of the same coin, two sides of the same thing. It is that okay? This might cause that, so what's the cure? And then from there you dig deeper. What is it really? Is it really this thing? And virus is a conglomeration of two names, two Latin terms that I don't remember, but it's been vilified, it's been demonized, and they don't quite know what it is. And you mentioned exosomes, and that's exactly so. So there's so much more research going on, and the whole idea specialty of virology is just I think it's in its infancy, because you've got corruption in the Enders study in the 1970s, faking it, that he found viruses when he did not, he lied. Okay, like Ansel Keys lied about his research on fat and cholesterol causing a heart attack. It doesn't. He lied. Okay, and this is a doctor, and I think he's got the multiple doctorates. He lied, and then when he put his theory to the test in the Minnesota coronary study, it wasn't going his way, so he pulled out because he didn't like what he was saying. But so that's the human side, Patrick, of science, is that we scientists want to be right. We want to find the answer, but oftentimes the answer is has so many layers to it, and then it's like climbing Everest, and then you think you're on top, but you're not quite. You've almost made it, but you're not there, and you got to keep on going, right? And so that's what that is. So it's constant discovery and learning, but in science, especially in medicine, it's to find that one thing, the thing that causes disease, and from there you enter the smart financiers way back when, late 1800s, early 1900s, Rockefeller and Carnegie. They come up with something called pharmaceuticals, drugs, because as a business model, what do drugs do? You take them, and if you keep on taking them all the time, then the drug manufacturers make money. There's a constant source of income. So who can you get? As their thinking is, who can you get to sell these drugs? They created something called medical school. Mm-hmm. Because way back when, the common source of healthcare was chiropractic and naturopathic medicine, naturopathy. Today, we call those fringe type of healthcare things. Back then, that was the only thing there was. But as a finance tool for making money, the Rockefellers and Carnegies, mainly the Rockefellers, stepped in, if we can sell medications or drugs, to people and constantly have them take them, we're going to make a lot of money. And it is now a $1.2 trillion business and growing. Okay? The cancer industry, and it is an industry, is $600 billion. And it's growing. Because sometimes these cancer doctors get a kickback or compensated for prescribing cancer drugs, okay, when there are other more effective natural means for them. But anyway, the thing is that we humans have this ego, and even in science, because we want to be known for what we discovered, and we want to be known for this thing of what causes it. And because Western medicine is not meant to find root causes, they give you pharmaceuticals, but they don't find a root cause. So there is no cure. the best chance you have, the only chance you have, is natural remedies, which are plants, which come from plants. And unfortunately for the pharmaceutical industry, they get a lot of, they patent a lot of things, but they can't patent plants. Okay, and then that's why they're scratching their heads over this marijuana issue right now, because they so want to dominate it, they so want to own it. Okay, but it's a plant. And they've tried to isolate certain things from marijuana, but it doesn't quite work as effectively.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to expand on there, what you're saying, and this is a very important thing, and this ties into your understanding of nutrition. Actually, before I get to that, I just wanted to correct myself on the process of isolation and purification. Centrifuge tube with silicone beads, gradient layered with a suspension of viruses and cellular particles, and then it spins around, and then looks like the viruses, they get pushed or isolated, at least parts of them do. Cellular debris, essentially, is what it is. And then, of course, that part, the bottom part where the cellular debris has after spinning around has collected, they pull that out, and then they look at it. Who, I often wonder, was the one that said, "Oh, that's what we're looking at in this microscope. That's a virus, and that virus is therefore something dangerous." Okay, so now that I'm going to move past that real quick. I just wanted to correct myself on that one, but I want to bring up something very important in relation to nutrition and what you're talking about. Now, we know that the Rockefeller Carnegie School of Medicine was founded on the belief, not a mistaken belief, but the deception that nature does not have what it takes to heal the human body. That, as we've talked about, the human body is therefore weak, and a chemical combination of sorts is what is necessary in order to do this. Of course, this chemical combination can therefore be quickly manufactured in a lab, tested, packaged, and then sold for a profit. So this is the underlining mechanism behind. This is what underlines all of modern medicine, essentially, is that concept. Now, we know in our modern day, you know very well via your study of nutrition, that the human body and plants and nature, there's a symbiotic relationship there. We can break that down, right down to frequency and vibration, where we've got sympathetic vibration between certain elements and compounds that are found in certain natural treatments and fruits, vegetables, whatnot, plants, this and that, which vibrate in harmony, if that's a correct way of saying it, with very specific organs in our body. Such as an example now, recently we've been talking about cavities and things like that, and medicines that heal the tooth. Well, one of the most curious things about the brain, one of the most fascinating things about the brain, is that the entire mechanism for cravings is derived from the body knowing intimately what fruits, vegetables, or combination of things the body, that it can extract the necessary chemicals to heal whatever problem the body detects it's having. So we're talking an incredibly complex machine known as the body, which is already smart enough to figure this stuff out. Right now, my daughter is craving seaweed. Yeah. Seaweed has certain ingredients, certain compounds in it, certain vitamins and minerals that aid in teeth, that vibrate sympathetically with teeth. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you would know better than anybody on that subject. So it's curious. It's been fascinating to see her. She's constantly been craving seaweed. So we're getting these little seaweed packets for her, and she's been eating them left, right, and center. And come to find out, we take her to the dentist. She has some teeth issues, and then we looked into it, and yeah, seaweed has stuff in his teeth. So you've got this well-known and well-established natural healing mechanism in the body, where the body already knows what it needs, and that all of this stuff can be treated naturally. That symbiotic relationship means that the body, in this natural course of treatment, will not be taking out of homeostasis. It will not have to organize a return to homeostasis because of a chemical combination that is completely foreign to the body is pulling it out of homeostasis. Correct?
Yep.
So of course, that, there's no money to be made in the natural cure. You can't, there's no, so that it doesn't jibe at all with the whole Rockefeller Carnegie School of Medicine, which seeks to turn a profit on all of these cures. Literally, this is what's remarkable about my revelations when it comes to looking, and I don't claim to know it all. I'm only as good as the information that I consume, and I look at both sides. Yeah. And I'm shocked to discover that the term that we all know as snake oil applies more to the Rockefeller Carnegie School of Medicine than it does to the natural medicine. Yeah. Because it is the literal definition that a chemical combination created in a lab and then sold to you for a profit, that is the definition of literally snake oil. And you might have some, you take some Advil or you take some Tylenol. Yeah, sure, your pain will go away. It's just all it does is it uses a chemical combination, and how that chemical combination will work in the body, and you know the details of that whole process, and which does reduce inflammation. But there's also a plethora of natural combinations out there which work just as effectively, but are completely discredited because nobody could make money off of that. Nobody, it has evolved to a point now where there is an alternative, but the dominant financial control of the AMA, the Rockefeller School of Medicine, the Rockefeller School of Medicine there, means that with their control of medical publications, medical journalism, medical school, and that subsequent knowledge base that has been formed on that potentially false foundation or false, deceptive foundation. And when you've got a foundation of lies, everything that comes from that foundation those lies will be permeated in everything built upon that foundation. And everybody that's educated using that model, but they believe that all to be true. They would never doubt that they would never question it. They pay, you end up paying huge sums of money for something that becomes a point of pride. I just paid my, I'm not sure what the cost is for medical school, but, I just paid all this money for medical school. I'm in this amount of debt. I'm going to become a doctor. That becomes a point of pride. I've gone through medical school. I've got the MD. I know what I'm talking about. I sat at a desk and they indoctrinated me in their ways. I've seen a lot of efforts being made to discredit, still to this day, using the control of medical publications, medical school, to discredit a lot of the natural cures. And that's a continual thing that's been going on. And that's why you have doctors like Dr. Robert O. Young being attacked by the established medicine. And I didn't really realize the extent by which he was attacked. And of course, curiously, I got into a discussion with somebody on a forum who accused him of being the snake oil salesman, when my conclusions, at least, are that the Rockefeller Carnegie School of Thought is the literal definition of snake oil. And of course, these guys are all inclined towards those natural cures and natural healing. So it's maddening. It's truly maddening, because, and there is a case to be made for emergency medical treatment that you and I have both experienced, which is a life-saving.
Yep, saved my life twice.
The definition of that treatment in surgical procedures and stuff was that's a very mechanical approach to medicine. Surgery is a mechanical. You use scalpels, knives. Has nothing to do with the chemical part of it, even though they did give us medications, pain medicines, this and that so that we could survive through the process. Obviously, when it came to my 3 lung surgeries, I was, I wouldn't have wanted anybody cutting into my chest while I was wide awake, obviously. So, I needed to be knocked out. So, and, I remember noticing when I was talking to my surgeon once after meeting up after I had my surgeries, that there's even a big divide there between doctors and surgeons that I didn't know existed until I detected some comments that he made regarding some other doctors that were just medical doctors that were working in the same hospital. I picked up on a little bit of a frustration about something. So I thought that was interesting. And all of these medical doctors do come out of the school with the belief, having been indoctrinated into them, that the pill is the solution. And, and then of course the natural course is quackery. So we've in our conversation here, we've kind of laid the framework and the groundwork for a good backing, a good study of viruses, where that comes from, the symbiotic relationship between nature, the fact that microbes and viruses, and I from looking at and studying some other material with relation to trees and plants and root networks, and all of our medicines come from this. All of our, they come from trees and plants. That's, all of our natural medicines, that is. Trees, plants, fruits, vegetables, which grow in trees and plants. All of them have a root network where they exchange microbes with each other, from funguses to bacteria to viruses, just like the human body does throughout the gut, as you always talk about. And they exchange it on the root level to maintain, to persevere, to nourish, so that all these plants, and they, like I had said in one of my articles, I said, if you don't believe that the natural way is effective, take a walk through a forest, and you'll see just how effective this system is. So, not to go on and overextend myself over here, but and lose anybody, but when it comes to viruses, the labeling, the naming, what it is, in this narrative that they create in our minds, coupled with these computer graphics and generated images, which are intending to terrify people, and that, along with the display when it comes to the media of propaganda derived visual imagery, sounds, color schemes, as someone had pointed out on a Waking Times comment section, particular deployment of color schemes which are psychologically intended to raise levels of alert in the mind, and they parade these numbers around and these statistics, and then you dive into that and you start to realize how much they're manipulated. Man, we're getting manipulated over this pandemic, like from in every direction. And for what? And at the end of the day, we have to really ask ourselves some serious questions here, because we are losing our life that we knew. I went out to eat the other day, and it was a miserable experience. Where in the past we would go out to eat and it would be quite pleasurable. We would, sit with the family, and we would, now you have to wear your mask to and from the table, take it off. The tables are so spaced out, so far apart. Everybody has been subconsciously programmed to be so terrified of other people. A cough or a sneeze raises, where it used to be a natural reaction by the human body that would never cause any concern or question in other people, unless, of course, it continued on repetitively, in which that might be an indication of illness or sickness. One simple cough or sneeze causes fear across the entire restaurant. And they've changed it all through this method of propaganda. Right out the door, they told us we are going to have a new normal before they ever established what that new normal was. So it's been nonstop series of mental manipulations. And I'm blown away. And I know we've covered and we've gone around and interwoven through all of these different subjects. And I think each one of them is just as important as the next. But at the end of the day, we're doing this out of fear for something that has never even been proven. And that alone is incredible. But this thing that has never even been proven, you know what it's been proven to do? It's been proven to sell medicines and vaccines, which themselves have never been proven. So this is unreal. And and trying to educate people about it, I've been frustrated, and I know you're frustrated, because it's so easy for them to scream about the science. You hear that a lot. The science doesn't lie. The science, but what if the science does lie? So, it's remarkable and per the human body and its ability already, and the immune system having all of this just literally miraculous ability to cure, heal, rebuild, and keep this body that we are, that our consciousness inhabits, to keep it moving, keep it going, and so that we can continue to go through this reality, density, dimension, whatever you want to call it, and experience it. And the fact that they want us to believe that we're just these weak animals running around just waiting literally to die by someone else's sneeze is so unbelievably mind-blowing. And now, you know, we've got the new normal with the masks and now the mandatory masks. And all of this stuff, when you break it down, is just a way to break you down mentally. Think of the fact that, and jump in anytime here, Dr. Randall. Please interrupt me. I interrupt you all the time. So
when I like listening to you, no, because you know when I listen to you, you bring up things that you've researched, which are facts, and a lot of people don't know this. And even if they did, what happens is that we've been conditioned for generations of learning certain things. And if you talked about Western medicine, and you mentioned this earlier, when you go to an office, you know, pretty sterile office, medical office, and you see the guy with the white coat with the MD on it, which means minor deity. Okay, you go, oh, well, he's the one, he knows everything. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's been taught only certain things. I mean, you know medical school's 4 years, and you go through an internship and all that, but you're taught certain things. You're taught a certain doctrine. Okay, and in theirs is that drugs are what you prescribe. You learn a lot about pharmaceuticals. You know a lot about pharmacology and how drugs work, but not how they interact with each other. That's never taught. So if you're taking more than one medication, your doctor doesn't know what that does. Your pharmacist might know a lot better. Okay, but they're told to put the drugs to formulate them and sell them, right? But that's how that is. You only know what you know. And I'll go back to I teach energy medicine because I just believe that that's the best cure for that. Because no one talks about energy, well, that cures us all. Everyone has that coursing through us, and we live in it. And the other is belief systems and ego. Okay? Is that if you're taught some certain things, that's you're held in that, and that's what your convictions are. So, for example, you have cancer. And you've gone through all the chemotherapy, which is drugs, all the radiation, which is burning, and then surgery, chopping whatever off on that. But you still have cancer and you're dying. What does your cancer doctor do? They go, "We've done all we can. Go home." But you're still dying,
exactly. And that's. I don't mean to stop you right there, but I want to. This is a very important part of everything of our lives. People get conditions, and then the treatment can and have a great chance, as it is the third leading cause of death, medical errors, medical treatment, whatever, it's not so much errors, but also the treatment. And okay, so it interferes with the natural course of evolution, with the natural course of our life and our death sequences. And then they blame it on, oh, well, he had cancer anyway, so he was just going to die. And then when it works, they're like, oh, well, the treatment, it was what saved him, and so continue.
No. See, thanks for bringing that up, because what happens is that there's this saying, a lot of these people, in fact, a lot of these cancer doctors, oh, go home and die, or why don't you go see a naturopath? That's your last resort, right? Mm-hmm. Or a lot of these folks, well, not a lot, is that after they've gone through all that horrific treatment, which decreases their immune system, so they can't really fight, this cancer off, is that they undergo something called spontaneous remission. They go, oh, kind of, neat medical term, I guess, but it's like, I don't know how you improved, but crap, you beat the cancer. And it wasn't because of the drugs, the radiation, or the surgery. What did you do? I had a good attitude. I started, changing my diet. I started exercising. I didn't want to die. And they raised their energy levels. Okay, and so what happens is that belief system ties into your energy, and as you know, and with that, Patrick, there's high energy, low energy, there's positive energy, negative energy. And then like all the God laws, and you bring up, one of them, two sides of the same coin, is that, with its energy, is that what you focus on is what you get, what you feel. What you focus on becomes real.
You are what you think all day long, as they say.
No, you have high positive energy. Guess what? That's how the day is. No matter what's going on around you or what is happening in your life, high positive energy, you feel great. And so no matter what's going around you, that's what that is. But you feel high negative energy. What happens? You get more of it. I hate this. I hate you. I wish you were dead. Things like that. And Democrats are better than Republicans. Republicans better than Democrats. Things like that. All you guys don't know what you're doing. And negative, negative, negative. And guess what? That's your entire life. And that's how the world looks to you now. It's entirely negative. And that's belief system. And I give you one that, you're going to like. This one is when we talk about Mike Tyson way back when, the baddest man on the planet kind of deal. When he went to Tokyo, he was doing all his appearances and all that. This was a guy, who made $500 million in his career and spent it all. Now he's broke. But he goes there and, he's fighting this guy, Buster Douglas, as you know. And you go, this is just another Tyson knockout, big deal and things like that. But, look at the mechanics of this. Buster Douglas trained for this fight hard, and then he kept a positive attitude. And the guy is 4 or 5 inches taller than Tyson, has got a longer reach. To me, this guy's got the tools to win. Okay, and he believed he could win, and he did. He knocked out the baddest man on the planet in 8 rounds. Okay, and what that did was it changed the belief system of everyone watching. They go, wow, the baddest man on the planet got knocked out. His mouthpiece is laying next to his head. You see? And so the belief system changed, and it was because Buster Douglas changed his belief, changed his energy to high energy, saying to himself, I can beat this guy. I can beat this guy. Okay, and so our belief systems, all this time, Patrick, with our parents, grandparents, and all that, going back to the 1900s, since our lineage has survived this long, has been in Western medicine, and that's pill for an ill medicine. Pill for an ill medicine. Take this. Is it going to work? Well, I don't know. Just take it. What if it doesn't work? Come see me on Monday. Okay. What if it doesn't work? Come see me next time. I'll give you a blue one instead. The red one or the green one. Whatever it is. It's kind of like Skittles. You just hand those out, and now there's things called physician's assistants that they're not doctors, but they can also write prescriptions. Pills, 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 pills. And does it work? Well, I don't know. You tell me. And so what it does is that you're a constant consumer, you're a buyer. You're making money for these drug sellers, these manufacturing companies. Okay, and because of the corruption and the greed, the FDA, CDC, all these agencies, NIH, all corrupt because they own patents themselves. They make money off selling drugs, if you can believe that. So they're agencies that are supposed to help us, but there's certain beliefs and the energy that goes along with them. But Patrick, the corruption, the greed, and all under the category of ego, right, just takes over, and we humans fall into this. And what I like about your research, our show, about John Rappaport, about John Whitehead, about David Icke, okay, about all these doctors that stand out, that get targeted, is that they report truth. They report the truth. But we are much of the population doesn't want to accept the truth because they've been conditioned otherwise. Because now they go, what, all the stuff I believed is not true. Oh, you guys are quacks. You're all conspiracy people. And to me, that's a strange word, because conspiracy means what? Telling the truth. It's not conspiracy. It
means researcher. Yeah, I mean, like I.
Well, so you're calling this. You've given this name like conspiracy. It's like a bad word, right? But all you're doing is you research the truth and you report it. So you report the truth. But now you're given this label. So and you can talk about David Icke for hours, going how that guy was blasted. How his life was just turned upside down by. He was an incredible researcher. And all he did was tell the truth. That's all he did. But he got, just attacked. But here he is now going, wow, you were right. He goes, oh, all those, 3 decades of getting blasted again. Now I'm right. So, it's just like that. But this is where we're at, Patrick. And, like when you look around our world, especially in your Texas, who the heck benefits from all this? everyone's going broke, and there's no social contact, and like your little daughter, she can't see your face when you're smiling, and what does that do to one, a child or anybody else? And because we're made for social contact, she can't see your face, she can't see your smile, she can't see your mouth moving and all that, and that's going to confuse the heck out of her, like it does for most people. And is this a new normal? I don't think so. You think humankind can live like this? No, we're social beings, and we're a lot smarter than this. But because our belief system is going in a certain direction, we've been groomed to think of scarcity. We've been groomed, and especially right now, to be fearful, to be afraid. To damn be afraid. Okay.
This is very much, if you ask me, is a purposefully engineered new normal, because like we had discussed, being stay home, work at home orders, and this and that, and the people are staying home now. Right, we do have the right to step outside and go on walks and everything like that, but for the most part, people are going to spend all day long at home working and never see the sunlight, so they're going to become vitamin D deficient. So we got one right there. Vitamin D deficiency causes your immune system to struggle, correct? And now let's introduce the face mask. The face mask, wearing it out in public, and what does that do too? What is the restriction of the free flow of oxygen into your lungs has a negative effect on your, I should say a negative effect, not causes your immune system to struggle, but to have a negative effect on your body's ability to mount an immune system response to things. So it essentially becomes weakened. So all of these things that we are being told that are going to save us from this virus. And you know what, let's be honest here. If this thing is as omnipresent as they claim, hiding from it is futile. You can't. So this hiding from it and this mask wearing and all of that stuff has to be purposefully engineered for more ill effect. This ill effect, of course, can be counted towards, more cases of infected and whatnot. And circling back again after our discussion towards SARS-CoV-2, the test, the RT-PCR test, which is a DNA manufacturing technique, which does not look for a virus, just looks for looks for RNA particles. When we've got bacteria, fungi, exosomes, all of that stuff, and then it has a very high false positive rate, and some people are saying 80% false positive rate of discovering this stuff. So, and back to the engineering too, we have these statistics and these numbers, and there's been fraudulent activity out in Florida where 333 labs were reporting 100% positivity on all their tests. And of course that had that's remarkable, and of course that inflates the numbers. More of this number deception I would like to point out is the antibody tests, which the CDC in its own documentation admits that it can detect antibodies from other coronaviruses. There are about 30-something coronaviruses, right? And at one point of our life, we've all had the common cold, allergy season. We have had allergies, which are we have an immune system response to allergies. We've all been vaccinated, which creates antibodies, right? There are antibodies, course of antibodies. So for all of this stuff, the flu shot creates antibodies. And, and of course the flu shot isn't as effective as they lead you on to believe. But so then of course we've got the antibody test, and people saying, okay, well, wait, yeah, well, you must have had coronavirus. And then all of the new scam, which is to count everybody as as a probable case. And then on top of that, and these numbers are inflating, they never, ever subtract recoveries from the number of infected. So there will always be a massive number of infected forever. I call it the, infected forever number. And people like my friend who had a bacterial sinus infection that lasted like 2 or 3 days, went and get a test and it came back positive. They never followed up and said, well, did you recover? And of course that, so that he's a forever statistic. He's never added to the number of recoveries, the number which is never subtracted from the number of infected. Yeah, and of course somebody pointed out you could do the math yourself, but I'm looking at this from a propaganda perspective. And then you have the people who test multiple times in the effort to go back to work with a negative test. So, and those, every time they test positive, well, that same process repeats. Oh, there's another positive number. Oh, so even though it's the same person, he still gets thrown into that category of number of infected. So you've got this number of infected category, which is just swollen with deception, just completely manufactured via deception. And of course, as we've talked about on Be the Change and in other discussions, how they've shifted the goalposts where it's no longer related to the number of deaths, because the death certificate manipulation has been brought out into the light, and at least, for the most part, and how the death rate is low and how it's losing its pandemic status. So they shifted the goalpost where now they're focusing on the number of infected as that being the justification for the means for another lockdown. And if I can dive into this lockdown for a second, I know people, and I've read articles of people whose lives have been destroyed by the first lockdown. I want to point out that the people in the governments, the people in charge, the people who declared this lockdown, I want to put an emphasis on the fact that there was no preemptive, there was no preparation. Nothing was done preemptively to ensure the survival of the people whose lives they are damaging. What category of people got damaged the most? And this is the same group of people that many profess to claim about, how they profess to care about. Low-income families got hurt the worst. Minorities, which make up, a large percent of those are minority groups. And they parade that number around like propaganda. Oh, look at how many people, this is affected. They say this is affected. They don't go into details of why it's affected minority groups or how it's affected them. They just say it has affected them worse. And if you look into the details, it's because the lockdown destroyed them, made a lot of these people homeless. How can any of them have any means of protecting themselves with the mandatory measures that are put in place? They can't even afford to buy masks because they can't even afford to live anymore because of a government mandated lockdown, which caused all small businesses to go, not all, I don't mean to say all small businesses, which caused a lot of small businesses to go out of business. Yeah. and hurt these people. And somehow that's supposed to be a solution to this. A virus, an omnipresent virus that you could never hide from, apparently locking everything down and destroying people's lives and making people homeless is the best way of, like, if anybody were to think logically about these things, they would see it clear as day that something else is going on. There's no chance. This is not a rational, well thought out plan. Suddenly shutting everything down. And of course, all the celebrities who have millions of dollars, they're fine with shutdowns. That doesn't affect them. It doesn't, so they, and then they're the first ones to scream if a lockdown isn't coming, that, that the people in charge are just blatant murderers. They're just killing people. And they're like, there's recently in Georgia, I believe it was Georgia, the governor of Georgia had,
Georgia,
yeah, he said no on mandatory masks, that you cannot, rule that, which is a great thing. Of course, now everybody is calling him a murderer. It's just, it's just ridiculous. It's mind-boggling, and bringing this discussion to people. A lot of times, I just made a mess of my hair, rubbing my face. Bringing this discussion to people has been a frustrating one. That because the political, this hypercharged political environment now, and we've pointed this out many times, and how that we've been divided along that. We've always been divided along that line, but never to the extreme of which we are now. And there are people in positions that are cheerleading these lockdowns, and because it will destroy the economy, because they will hurt Trump. And I notice on the comment sections, the people who come on cheerleading this thing and talking about how deadly it is and this and that, and then they will always end the sentence with somehow blaming people on the political right or blaming Trump in one way or another. And you could tell that they're only able to see this thing through their own political lens. or the political lens with which they view the world, which is really unfortunate because those are the most difficult people to try to reach, to say, no, there's more going on. This isn't just about politics. This is about social change. This is intimately tied to, the cabal, the people behind the scenes. But they've also been conditioned to reject any mention of a deep state or a cabal as being a right-wing conspiracy theory, and that part has been difficult as well. It's funny because all of the researchers that I've researched, all the conspiracy, quote-unquote conspiracy theorists, I'd like to call them truthers instead. Yeah. They're all, you can't be that kind of a researcher and come from a very hyper-political background because you have to look at all sides of things. You can't just look at everything with horse blinders on. It doesn't work that way. You can't get an idea of the bigger picture by focusing on a one-sided political narrative. You have to look at all narratives, politics or not. And now I've seen people like David Icke being accused of as being right-wing conspiracy theorists, which I know for a fact he absolutely is not.
Hopefully.
And I've been accused of that, and I try to talk about these things on comment sections and message boards, and that's the people that are very polarized politically will instantly attack on that level. And when you scream hysterically like that, I firmly believe that it is in an attempt to put people on the defensive, and it has a tendency to put people on the defensive, just like. That was just like screaming any other type of phrase. Like, when people scream, you're a racist at people, that instantly puts someone on the defensive because no one wants to be a racist, and that's been a tactic that has been well discussed. The same thing, calling them screaming that they're some sort of right-wing conspiracy theorist. No, I'm not, someone's put in a position where they have to suddenly explain themselves. And guess what? They've completely deflected from the subject that's at hand. So it's been hard. It's been frustrating, and it's been and then you have to contend with the look at the science people, and of course the science. Everybody is cherry picking, people on both sides they cherry pick that which aligns with their political viewpoint, and it's a shame because it doesn't work that way. At the end of the day, who is this affecting? It's affecting all of us.
That's right.
And they use fear to guarantee that we will continue to, if the fear of going outdoors and getting sick. Well, the people that want their freedom are then what are they? They're the enemy because their freedom might cost you their life, and that's how the media has been portraying things. And so even sticking up for your ability to have rights and have freedoms is attacked as being irresponsible or called a right-wing conspiracy. And I have not in one instance seen anybody accused when it comes to talking about this virus. I've never heard of them being accused of being a left-wing conspiracy theorist. It's always been a right-wing conspiracy theorist, and I think, and that's just the way the political divide works right now. That doesn't necessarily mean the next socially engineered or manufactured fake condition will be that way. It'll probably be the opposite because that's how, it'll probably be the one side blaming the left for everything. It almost depends on who's in a position of power at that time, because at the end of the day, Republican, Democrat, left, right, you're right, left, whatever, it matters not. It's just a tool to divide and rule. That's it. That's all it is. And it keeps everybody, like we've been, not you and me personally, but how we've been engaging ourselves with the audience or the world out there. We've been fighting. It's all been bickering. It's been, no, you're right, I'm wrong, or no, you're wrong, I'm right. It's literally warfare over things that are affecting all of us, and it's really sad. It's sad. And I've been also reading. I recently there was two of my new favorite researchers out there are Canadian, which is funny because in America it's so hyper polarized, but the Canadians like David Crow and his wonderful, awesome material that he's produced, and other ones, I was pointing out a study done by D.G. Rancourt. The title of this study was All-Cause Mortality During COVID-19, No Plague and Likely a Signature of Mass Homicide by Government Response. And he, rather eloquently proves his case. This and David Crow's material, Flaws in the Coronavirus. David Crow has so much stuff, and his work, Flaws in the Coronavirus Pandemic Theory. Well, these massive documents, these research papers, these books, and I'm holding them up right now. I know you can't see me, but these are the things that this is the amount of evidence that people like me, including, articles. I've got stacks of articles written by John Rappaport. This is my ammunition box versus that which the mainstream media talks about. And that's all they're doing. Literally, that's all they're doing. They're not reaching these conclusions from this exhaustive research. They're being told what to say. They're using the fact that they sit in front of an audience of millions of people, and then they just literally lie, and it doesn't matter to them because they're paid to do it. So to them, they're convinced, I'm sure, that they're speaking the truth when they're actually not. But then us, you, me, we're researching our butts off, having to convince everybody that they've been lied to in a divided political atmosphere, and being hammered for literally trying to help people open their eyes and see that they're losing everything for engineered and manufactured reasons. So I don't want to do a whole segment on woe is me as the conspiracy theorist over here, but it's that's incredible. And the people will not look at certain things because of that. If it's not subsidized by their favorite politician, subsidized, is that the right word? Yeah. If it's not, or if it doesn't come from that school of thought, then it's completely neglected. And it doesn't matter if the person who's got the information is a doctor, is an accomplished researcher, has any, like John Rappaport or who, John Rappaport has been investigating in depth epidemics and pandemics for over 30 years, right? And no one will pick up, though, anybody that they won't look at his information if it doesn't come from their politically polarized school of thought or from that side of the divide. And it's the political divide. And that is a remarkable feat of engineering that they have accomplished here, using divide and rule to polarize us even further, and that using the construction or the engineering of a life or death situation, perceived life or death situation, that is now dictating the literal destruction of all of our routines, habits, hobbies, and the way we've expressed ourselves in our personal lives, right down to what we can and can't wear on our face, which is dependent on where we go. And, going out in public now, being told that you have to wear an item of cloth or covering or somehow on your face, whether or not you want to and whether or not your health can sustain it, you still have to do it. And these are the people that are making us do this, are the same people that caused the lockdown, which destroyed lives, are the same people that say that they have our best interest at heart. And I say bullshit. It's just bullshit. It's bullshit covered in a layer of bullshit, topped with a layer of bullshit and covered with bullshit.
Yeah.
And I apologize using that kind of language, but people I would hope they could see with their plain eyes what's being lost now. We're losing our humanity now. And that fear of death, which has been placed into their minds via this running narrative and these media manipulations and the propaganda and the deception. And both mainstream media elements on both the left and the right promote the same fear of virus. And you go to CNN and you go to Fox and you look at the two of them. I always point out those two. They run the same narrative, but with that political perspective. Fox News isn't diving in and saying that this is an engineered pandemic or that it's a fake pandemic or that this virus is, all the elements and everything associated with this virus is an engineered. No, they're talking about, at the end of the day, they're making the same claims about a viral pandemic killing everybody, just as much as CNN is, just as much as NBC News is, just because we know that the media, when it's a pyramid scheme and it's all controlled, by a small hand of people at the very top. And they don't give a crap. They don't give a shit about your politics. They don't care, the people that are in power. They don't care at all. So it's just remarkable. I've been over here playing with twisty ties. I'm talking. I'm not. To the audience, you're getting a more of a natural flow, I guess, coming from Dr. Randall and myself, just as we express our frustrations with this. And I mean, it's just like with me. I don't have any agenda in my back pocket. I'm not over here under patrickherbert.org trying to make a buck for myself by spending all of my time and energy researching and writing. I don't make any money off of my site. My site costs me money. Making these videos costs me money. There's no return on this investment. And we're both pushing this information out in the most purest of ways with an intention to raise awareness as to these machinations which are being committed against us as a people, no matter our race, no matter our religion, no matter our habits, no matter our creeds, no matter where we live, no matter what we live in. That kind of stuff doesn't make a difference to us, because at the end of the day, it's about the bigger picture. And sorry for my long spiel there, but I just felt that I needed to say that.
Oh, no, wonderful. Well, I like listening to you because you throw out research, you throw out facts. That a lot of people don't research, but you spend hours and hours and hours to research this, like John Rappaport, like David Icke. That they devoted their lives to a lot of this stuff to just deliver the truth. And what
you get attacked for it.
Oh yeah, and they pay a price for that. But but you bring a valid point here. You wear a mask, you don't wear a mask, the virus will still find you. So
can't hide from it. So this whole concept
you're wearing this ridiculous mask, and like I said, I would encourage everyone just to wear hockey masks. One is more ominous and it's really cool looking, but.
Dr. Randall, this is the funny point here. I know you personally very well, and I know, I don't have an understanding of everything you've gone through, of course, because I would have to have gone through it to understand, but I know your sense of humor with relation to it. And if it were true that this thing was the most dangerous virus on the face of this planet, guess what? You would be the best to defend against it, because the eyes are a portal of entry and you don't have any. So they tell us to wear masks while we're walking around with our eyes open wide, when that's one of the biggest portal of entry. So if the mask argument is completely obliterated, and I hopefully I hope my bringing up my point in that manner isn't offensive to you. So that the whole argument of having a mask explodes, because so long as you're a human being walking around with your eyes open, guess what? According to what they're saying with regards to this thing floating in the air for hours, if not days, I don't know what the last thing is they've come up with. Yeah. That it's going to get into your eyes no matter what you do, unless you're wearing some sort of godforsaken massive plexiglass face shield. And oh, good Lord, is it going to come to that where we walk outside and people are wearing these massive face masks?
But this new normal crap is this crap. But this would be a good time to sell NASA spacesuits, because you can make a fortune off of that.
Oh
Buy
my gosh.
one of these, but you got to go pay for all the your air canister replacements and all that. But NASA spacesuits. Okay, you want to do that, Trevor? And like I say, not so great. Well, if you're playing NBA basketball, or football, right? And they look at those guys. Wow, yeah, who's who? I don't know. The guy with the green tank. What about the red tank? And so it's foolish. But the thing is, like I always ask, who benefits from this? I don't benefit. You don't benefit. Like this.
The statistics do, because when you get sick from wearing all that stuff, they're going to say, "COVID, you've got COVID."
Exactly, and no one thinks about all the gun violence, murders that are going on right now, and you can blame that on COVID too. Getting hit by a car, things like that, or those folks that do die of cancer and all that. Then you get to have that COVID designation, and that's the poor guy died cancer. Oh, I mean COVID. Yeah, and foolish and all lies and all. And so, what we do is just we deliver truth, and you've just really dove down into the literature that's out there. Like all, like David Icke and John Rappaport and Joe McCullough, all just facts. And then ours is that are you living your freest life? Are you free? You're not free. You're a slave. Okay, and this is one big worldwide prison, things like that. And I don't think that the those few folks that don't have video or computers, like if you're in the Arctic or Antarctic, or you're in
those are the happiest people.
Yeah, because they don't know what's going on, and they're just kind of living their lives, going, "Wow, we gotta tend to our crops here. We gotta go fishing. We gotta get food."
Mm-hmm.
And then here, all the intelligence folks are out here being fearful, of something that's actually friendly. Okay, and it's unfortunate, that the people with the lowered immune systems, the very elderly, the people that don't get outside to get some sunshine and get fresh air, they're dying, and that's unfortunate. But they're already dying. Okay, and then so nobody benefits from this. It's a debacle. It's a fake crisis that the people that are in control, and it's not our government, it's the shadow government behind these governments, that they're just tightening the stranglehold. Mm-hmm. Because now everyone doesn't have money, less and less freedom. What do? You're reaching out for something else. You're not taking personal responsibility. You're reaching out for help from somebody else when you should be helping yourself. What kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live a prisoner? Do you want to be a slave for the rest of your life? I want to be free. Okay, and I know enough science that all of this stuff that you're hearing now it can all be debunked. And there are a lot of folks out there that their voices are being silenced because you never hear of, like say Andy Kaufman or on a major news station. Like,
no, you'll never see that. He doesn't go with the narrative.
He's going to tell the truth, and they're going to go, what?
They mute the people, and they cut the feeds now. If that happens on live TV, that's actually, I've seen that tactic used many times. If somebody starts to stray from the script, they'll cut the feed, or they'll mute the person's microphone. The level of censorship has become just, and it's unreal, because we see on YouTube all these doctors. Andrew Kaufman had I just, not to get him confused with wasn't there a famous Andy Kaufman back in the day?
The actor, but there was
I'm talking about Dr. Andrew Kaufman, and he did a great video called "The Rooster in the River of Rats," which I have on my site. I have a backup of it, which was a fantastic video, and that was where showing the deception between Koch's postulates and Rivers, and how that was in reference to the 2003 and the SARS epidemic, where they claimed that they had proof regarding SARS causing diseases, and
never did,
and so they. And they shifted the goalposts with, and then using a method that had there was ways to kind of move away from the actual proof, but still satisfy those that criteria, because they introduced additional criteria and then took away other ones to make it. Anyways, I don't want to go into detail on that deception, but. His video was deleted from his channel, and I had to find a backup of it on someone else's channel. Like, what? It's just unbelievable. There was nothing deadly or dangerous about him explaining that. There was, except the fact that it put a little bit more spotlight on what's really going on. And of course they make claims that, it didn't meet our community standards guidelines, or was in violation of our, which is such a joke. And if you are silencing people, you are afraid of debate, and you're hiding something. If you are unafraid, if you are, that's just the whole thing with censorship. If people are being censored, then somebody's scared. They're scared of that information. It's not that it's hurting people. No, they're scared of information. They're running from debate. They don't want to debate. They want a one-sided narrative. So.
Yeah. No, to see that's what I like what we're doing here, and that's like well, if people don't know, you and I are running for co-presidency because I think we can be better presidents than all those folks out there because ours is truth, creating a world that works for everyone, leaving no one behind.
Mhm.
So mine.
We got to be like Kanye. We have to go fill out. Do we have to fill out a form or something?
Yeah, we'll probably have to do that too. But like I said, that there are different rules now, and like. Well, I guess I have an agenda. I want everyone to live their greatest lives, their greatest lives possible. And that's my agenda.
We
And
should
we're
have
not,
that right to do it too.
yeah, and we're not doing that. We're listening to garbage. And if you think a mask is gonna, save you, one, it's not, and all that. Or even if you wear a mask, at least make it look good. Like maybe your favorite hero or something like that, or if you want to be Zorro or D'Artagnan, please find something like that, but it's not going to save you. The other is that look at what's happened this past half year in this very monumental 2020 year. You're broke or you're going broke, okay, and you're shivering at home with anxiety and fear and probably falling into depression, wanting that nod from the government. It's okay. It's okay. That's never going to come. There's politics like you mentioned in the way. And there's one belief system versus another. One is right, accusing one to be wrong, and vice versa, and all that. We have a president, who waffles and all that, and as despicable as I think he is, as an individual, the guy knows money, and he knows that you can't make money sitting at home afraid. Okay. And then he's been prepped by a lot of different virologists and doctors and all that, and I think he's got a keener understanding than people think. Is that this thing is not as infective as it seems, and it's become less infective. So, and what people don't know, which you've dived into a lot of this research, that the CDC lies. They lie on their statistics. They lie.
But they're held up as being some sort of and without Anthony Fauci being, promoted as some sort of Lord and Savior, and the CDC as being the just the most truthful, life-saving, organization in the history of mankind right now. Sorry, go on.
No, that's true. But see, their statistics lie. I mean, they put out some things. That's partially true, but most of it's lies. And, they hold drug patents. They make money off selling drugs. As weird as that, they're a health agency, right? To support us out here, but that they actually hold drug patents that they make money off. And so, but when you say FDA, CDC, NIH, FDA, this is FDA approved. And how come they're recalling so many drugs? If they're, that they're the ones that approved it in the first place, how come they're recalling them?
Mm-hmm.
What's that about? You see, it's just globally, and well, starting individually first, greed, ego, and then who pays for it? Us out here, the 99% that want to do well in our world, and that there are leaders like us out there that have a lot of podcasts and a lot of blogs that research and tell the truth. Yet, those folks. Have their communities, but largely they're ignored because look at where we're at. People are still huddled at home, and even outdoors, where there's businesses that are partially open, just like you said, you got to sit way far apart, or say, oh, you can only come in, 5 at a time, and things like that. And but it's okay to congregate in large masses at Walmart, at Target.
Oh, well, what about the protests? That's the most remarkable thing. They literally say that in the same announcement that you cannot, you have to do social distancing, this and that, and that, but excluded from all of these rules are protests because they're very important. So, okay, so wait a minute. And and this is literally the reason for the onset of cognitive dissonance in the minds of everybody who's watching this stuff, is that those it's just crazy. It's madness. And they do it with a smile on their face. And people have been so conditioned. They've been so dumbed down. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that in the sense that it's been purposefully put in place that critical thinking has been removed from
Yes.
the curriculum when it comes to the education system because they do not want you to ask questions. They just want obedient, system servants, essentially.
No,
So,
no,
yeah, and then they say those two things. It's remarkable.
no, it's crazy. So, you tell, a few months ago, you tell all those spring breakers that hit both the coasts and hitting all the, the sand and surf and all that, and all those, young naked bodies out there. Those guys aren't sick. They love spring break.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that never gets talked about. So you talk about, tens of thousands of college kids, out there, having fun and, drinking, boozing it up and, just in close quarters and all. And they weren't thinking about this. They're thinking about having fun. It's spring break.
But now they're told they can't do that because they're going to be super spreaders. But when in that same sentence or that same breath, they're told that they can't do that, but yet it's okay to protest that. Well, you
see the hypocrisy. So I guess what we're trying to do is just enlighten not only our audience but the public. But get out there, because if a mask is not going to protect you, or social distancing, you don't even know that works or not. Is that there's more harm that comes of it than anything, because one, you're broke, you can't make your money. You can't be social, with people. You can't have the life you want, because we are social beings. And I think primarily is that you're not free. You're a slave. You're a damn slave, and you've agreed to it. And this is not going to change. So, our new normal this is a massive opportunity for change, for good change, for us to make the rules, for us to live freely, for us to become better people, to be more understanding, to be critical thinkers, be kind and generous, okay, and to include everybody. Because if you want to live alone in the world, that's fine. Live in a cave, that's up to you. But we live in a social world, and viruses will long outlive you. Bacteria will long outlive you. You have this time. You have the here and now. We, in this human form, we've been given a certain time on Earth, and what our one guarantee is, one day we will die. And the whole hope is later than sooner. But one day we will die. Before that comes, I would like to live my greatest and best life. I would live to love a lot and to share my love. I would love to share all my knowledge. I would love to create that world that I would love to live in, that everyone else would like to live in also. And I think that's what our shows here are about. And, with you, Patrick, your depth of knowledge is just incredible, because, you're not a doctor, nor is John Rappaport.
I just read everything. That's it. That's my claim. That's my claim to fame is that I read.
No, that's right. But see, you can match information or wits with any doctor on earth, because you have enough to talk to them at that level. Okay, because what happens is that term doctor and all that, and I enjoy it. I enjoy that title, but all that means is that we were taught information in a certain way. That's what we know, and I've continued on in that learning. But a lot of my doctor friends haven't. They kind of stick to what they know, and it's kind of limiting. And then they're taught to think in a certain way, and a lot of times it's not healthcare. It's a lot of it's mechanics, like you're saying, especially in dentistry. It's that there are now biologic dentists out there, I think, which is a good step forward. But mainly, dentistry is drill and fill. You find something. Oh, look at this. You drill it out and stick something in there. And then hopefully the material you stick in there is compatible. A lot of times it's not. But why oral hygiene is important is that, the best thing to do is not see the dentist.
And nutrition, especially. And
it comes from nutrition and lifestyle. And a lot of that is what? Learning. Like
you'd be surprised.
Reading.
As you know, in our personal story here, how, we went to a biological dentist with the intention of believing that we were going to have a non-drill and fill discussion, including a discussion about, the story, but to say for the audience, the discussion about health, eating habits, and all that stuff. And it didn't happen. The only thing they said, the one thing they wanted to do, drill and fill. So It is a step in the right direction, but we're actually going to be going to visit our naturopath again, whose father was an actual dentist. And one of the first things that our naturopath said to me, he said, my dad was a dentist. He's like, he told me early on, a long time ago, he said, it was one of the biggest scams on the face of this planet is modern dentistry. And I was like, whoa, wow. Well,
no, because it's all modern dentistry. Even when I was back in school, is that you're taught certain skills and all that, but it's primarily marketing and sales. Mm-hmm. And what people talk about is how big is your practice, and not about what you do or the people you've helped or the cases you've seen. Is how big is your practice, which means how much money do you make?
Money you make. I was going to say it sounds like wealth. It's all about wealth and status.
But see, what you bring up is that. If you did not have the wherewithal to even ask this guy something or be aware, you would say, okay, here's a doctor. Okay, honey, just open your mouth and get drilled on.
Yeah.
You see, but a lot of people don't. And see, and I go to what we're doing now. We're trying to educate people. So ask questions. Go look stuff up. And be persistent when you look, because you can't have a narrative unless you got two sides kind of comparing and their points, because with the censorship you only hear one point, and depending what politician you're listening to, they're saying wear a mask, social distance, okay, stay at home, go broke, and vote for me because I have your welfare first, but I want to vote, and I want all you guys to pay me too. You see, so that their agenda is based on greed, and ego, and then you separate the party lines, which really doesn't matter anymore, because although they talk about different things, they're actually talking about the same thing themselves, and it's a win-lose situation where they win, we all lose, and that's why I want to change this thing from politics to leadership. And that's why I call it the leadership party, and that's what we're running on, and that's truth, because I want people to live their greatest lives. Their biggest lives where they constantly grow and and share and include everybody else. You see, because this is how great our species is, because we're supposed to be thinkers and all that, and we had this thing called imagination. Imagination expands the consciousness, because with that creativity was not there before. And creativity causes new things, which expands our consciousness. So our world grows and we learn, and then we can share all that with others. But in fact, I think this video here is you're probably going to edit some of it, but I think it was very important because we want to get to these folks here who have been conditioned in a certain way. You don't have to live like this. You're choosing to live like this. Okay? You want to be locked down. What happens there? You go broke, you get more and more depressed, and you're anxious, and you're waiting to be told what to do. You're a human being. You were born to be free. You're born to live freely.
That's a good. That's a good close. We've been going at this for almost 2 hours now, so that was as good of a wrap up as any. And I want to just thank our sponsor and our friends and the people who tune in and listen to us. This was a fun video where we got to go back and forth, and we got to just chat this time. And this was more of a revealing in terms of our own involvement with all of this. At least people can see the natural and organic side of us that, as we've been going through the process of making these videos and whatnot. But I just want to thank everybody who's been watching. And if you've gotten this far, awesome. Thank you so much for listening. And that's all I have. So
no, that's great. That's wonderful. Hey, everyone, if you like this, please subscribe to our channel. Okay, we'd love to have more of you here, and tell your friends, because we give you good, a lot of truth out there. But I think we're kind of two entertaining guys, so I think it's a lot of fun listening to us. I think but you make that decision yourself. But if you feel this was worth it to you, love to have you in the tribe, and please tell your friends.
Awesome. Thank you.